Now, I don't believe in capital I impact or little I impact. What I mean by that is impact has no scale in my mind. I don't care if you're setting out to change millions of people's lives, or if your impact is, I want to make a profoundly positive difference to my child or to my partner or to my family or my direct community or whatever it may be. But what I can tell you is that happiness is not an individual pursuit. It is co-created, it is collaborative, it is connected. We are inherently intertwined with each other.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jodie Richardson, and this is, well, hello anxiety. In a world that often moves too fast, we're here to pause, breathe, and understand anxiety together. Each episode will explore practical strategies, share honest conversations, and uncover the science behind anxiety and well-being, all while creating a space where it's okay to not be okay. Let's continue this journey together. Welcome to part 2 of my conversation with Declan Edwards from the BU Happiness College. We are talking all about happiness skills and emotional intelligence and how to get through hard times. There's so much gold here in this conversation. So if you missed part 1, feel free to listen to this episode and then jump back to last week's. So Declan, you've shared with us 2 of the happiness skills that you're writing about in your new book, which is very exciting. What's the third skill that you're writing about?
The third skill is all about retraining our brain and recognizing that thanks to neuroplasticity, which is just a fancy science word that means that our brain can change over time, we get to practice things and get better at them. And particularly, the one I'm encouraging people to practice the most when they retrain their brain through the book is gratitude and learning to challenge the negative cognitive bias that we all have, which is, again, is just a fancy science term that means our brain tends to be pretty good at looking for worst case scenario and looking for what's wrong. It's meant to do that. One of my favorite things to share with people as a happiness researcher is that your brain doesn't actually care if you're happy. It cares that you're alive. That's its priority, which means it's going to look for threat. It's going to look for danger. It's going to look for what can go wrong. And sometimes it just gets a little overactive with that. So what we want to learn how to do is just broaden our perspective, not deny that there's challenges in the world that need to be addressed, not deny that there's difficulties in our life that need to be felt and experienced, but broaden our perspective to also see that there's a hell of a lot of good. Like, there's so much good and beauty in the world, and sometimes it's hard to see because we're so caught up. I know we spoke last time about the hedonic treadmill. We know that the media and news has a bit of a negative cognitive bias. Actually, my first year of university was in journalism, and I remember my lecturer putting up in big words and big letters on the screen, "If it bleeds, it leads." Yes,
I've heard that too. Yeah.
I went, I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life.
This is a fast track to unhappiness.
Yeah, and so I think just the more, and there's so much research backing up having a gratitude practice. Now, if you're like me and you shudder because gratitude sounds like a cliche, again, I went through that. I was like, oh, gratitude feels gross. You don't have to call it gratitude. Call it whatever you want. Call it, a thankfulness list. Call it things that made me feel good today. Like, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. But what I would encourage people to do, the simplest form of this one, it's been really well researched in positive psychology, is each day, and when I say each day, I know that you're human, which means if you're like me, you're probably going to not do it every day. You'll maybe get 80%. You'll forget some days, you'll lose your journal, that's all fine. But let's say each day, knowing that we're not going to do it every day.
Yeah.
Just jot down 3 things that went well that day. That's all it has to be. What are 3 things that went well, and why, out of all the things you could have chosen, why those ones? The why is the part where we really experience gratitude. So I've seen a lot of people do, I do my gratitude journaling. I jot down 3 good things. It takes me 5 minutes, happy days, good job, tick the box. Good, go me and looking after my brain. But they're missing a lot of the benefit. A lot of the benefit comes not just from identifying good things, but allowing ourselves to re-experience them and to sit with them. And so that's why I encourage everyone, get your 3 things down, but then go back and go, out of all the things you could have chosen today, why those ones? What was so nice about them? And expand on it. Sometimes I call it marinating in gratitude. I imagine it like a little soup, like you get to simmer in it. And it just feels really good. And what you'll find is the more you do it, the more your brain starts to do what I call proactive gratitude, where you'll go through your day and you'll be like, this is a moment that I've got to put in my gratitude practice later tonight. And so you get to experience it even then a bit more. You become a lot more aware of all the good that happens around you.
And And the permission that you've shared to the person listening who's thinking, I can't do that every day. I can't commit to that. My physio recently gave me some rehab exercises and asked me to do them twice a day. I'm like, I think that's code for if you do them once a day, that's okay.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Permission, but also these are self-fulfilling practices, aren't they? Because you reap the benefits of it, and it brings our attention away from the things that might stress us, or what haven't I done today, or what I have to do tomorrow, or those kind of future thought-based thinking, or the past-based thinking, back into kind of, we might be reflecting on something that happened during the day, which takes us back. But then in this moment, we can savor that, like you say, that marinating in that goodness. Yes, the soup. I had a really weird picture, like a mental picture, but it's important. That's exactly it. Kind of like, it fills you in a way. Gratitude can really fill you up in a way that few other things can when you stop and reflect at the end of the day. So, what's number 4?
Number 4 is, and we're going to play a little game to reveal number 4.
Oh,
Let's see
okay.
if the listeners and audience can play along. So often when I say to people, what do you wish you experienced more of in life? Some of the most common answers are things like self-confidence, self-worth, self-care, self-compassion. Right? All of these terms start with the same word. And so what I'd encourage people listening along to ask themselves is, what is the step that comes before any of those? I would argue that in order for us to feel self-confidence, self-worth, self-esteem, self-trust, self-connection, whatever you want to call it, we need to know ourselves. It's very hard to feel trust and connection to someone that we don't yet know. It's very hard to have a strong relationship with a stranger.
Yeah.
And so until we know ourselves, and this was me, by the way, I remember, 19 years old Declan struggled with his own self-worth and self-esteem for a long time, struggled with anxiety and with managing his own emotions, and reached out to someone who would become a great mentor and friend in my life. The first person I looked up to that I went, wow, this is an example of someone really living a life aligned to their values and who they are.
Yeah.
And creating their own path to happiness. I'd not seen that before. And I remember reaching out to him and saying, hey, you don't really know me that well, but you've inspired me. I'd love to, if you could come, talk at my school. I'd love if we could connect. And I remember just a passing comment. He probably won't even remember this conversation. He said to me, well, what do you want? And I said all those things. I said, look, I'm a bully to myself. I don't treat myself well. I don't think kindly of myself. I just want to feel better about myself. I want to have a good relationship with me. And he said to me, okay, who's Declan? And I was like, I have no answer for that. I was, 19 years old. I was like, what do you mean, who's Declan? And he goes, describe Declan to me. Like, what are his strengths? What are his values? What does he stand for? What does he believe in? And I remember being so struck by just how much of a stranger I was to myself. I'd spent 2 decades by that point with myself living my life. And I was like, I don't know who I am. It was a real existential crisis.
Yes, yeah.
And a lot of my work since then has been trying to understand myself better. And I say the frameworks for that. Know your strengths. And there's a free test you can do that. The VIA character strengths test is, I would argue, some of the best 25 minutes you can spend in your life.
Yeah.
For understanding what you do uniquely and exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Do the work of knowing what your core values are. Do the work of understanding how you express and receive love. If you want to use the love languages as a tool for that, fantastic. That might be a framework that you like to use. But just do the work of trying to figure out who you are a bit more. Because from that, it forms the foundation for all those other things that we spoke about, like having self-trust, self-connection, self-worth. And at the end of the day, the relationship you're going to be stuck with for your whole life is the one you have with yourself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can try whatever you want, but you can't really escape yourself. I heard it shared once, something along the lines of a philosopher said, I changed every career, I traveled around the world, I jumped from relationship to relationship, and every time there I was. Every time I re-met myself.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something really profound about going, you're going to be stuck with you. For better or worse. So we might as well do the work to try to get to know ourselves a bit better.
Yes. Have you heard the John Kabat-Zinn quote, wherever you go, there you are?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
that's another
Perfect.
beauty. And that's really more relation to kind of like mindfulness. And those qualities, I don't know if that's the right word, but that self-understanding, I really do encourage you as a listener to go to viacharacterstrengths.org and complete the 25-minute questionnaire, because it'll rank your character strengths, so you'll know what sort of number 1 right through to 24 character strengths. And the values work, everything that you've just mentioned, I can see why that's a really important and powerful chapter or section in your new book. So and some really practical strategies. What's the 5th one that you are writing
Fifth
about?
and final, the last one that made the cut. This was hard too, by the way, because when I started writing this book, we originally had 10 that I was like, these are the 10 most important skills. And as soon as I started writing, because we go into depth in each chapter, we give practical skills and tools, and like, this is how you go and do it. I realized this was going to be a very thick book if I put all 10 in there.
Yes.
And so I joke now with my publisher, and I joke with my wife when we talk about how the book writing's going. I'm like, I've just got the first 5, and then when that book goes well, we'll do a follow-up one called How to Be Happier. 5 more skills. And I'll still try to
The
wedge
5
them
I
in.
couldn't fit in the first book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's the extra 5 that I wish I put in the first. But the one, when I was narrowing down that list from 70 to 10 and then from 10 to 5, I knew that I wanted to finish on this one. This one, I was like, I always know this is going to be the closer of the book. And it's actually, I recently delivered my first TEDx talk, and it's how I closed my TEDx talk as well. So everything was kind of built around, this needs to be how we end talking about happiness. And it's to know what your role is in spreading the ripple effect of happiness. What I mean by that is bring clarity to your vision and purpose in life, and embrace and lean into the fact that a fair chunk of vision and purpose should be, and I think it's a very human thing to be, built around contribution to others. Now, I don't believe in capital I impact or little I impact. What I mean by that is impact has no scale in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're setting out to change millions of people's lives, or if your impact is, I want to make a profoundly positive difference to my child or to my partner or to my family or my direct community or whatever it may be. But what I can tell you is that happiness is not an individual pursuit. It is co-created, it is collaborative, it is connected. We are inherently intertwined with each other. And I think we've lost sight of that. I know I mentioned it in my TED talk. I was saying, there's a multi-billion industry around self-help.
Yeah.
But there's nowhere near as much of an industry around community help. Right? We are almost obsessed with this idea of being a self-made success, being self-made happy. But I just fundamentally believe that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We need to embrace the fact that our role, when we learn these skills and learn these strengths, the beautiful part of it is as we learn it, we inherently, whether you consciously do it or not, you pay it forward and pass along to others. The ripple effect of happiness is so well researched. There is a real contagion effect when people learn these skills and work on them. Actually, one of my favorite poems of all time, which people may have heard before, it says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond all measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And then it ends with this saying, this line of, as we allow ourselves to step fully into our light, as we allow ourselves to be the best version of ourselves, something along these lines, then we unconsciously give permission to those around us to do the same.
Yeah.
Right? So it does spread. And so that final skill, and I think it is a skill, right? A skill to embrace the impact we can have on others, a skill to embrace the interconnectedness of life, a skill to embrace and lean into the fact that happiness is a collaborative and co-created experience. And all of the research shows that when we start being more aware of and considerate towards our impact on others, ironically, we become a lot happier.
Yes.
Like, our life feels better.
Yes.
So it's not a net sum zero game where someone wins and someone loses, which I think a lot of the time in society we try to set that up. When we are genuinely giving, we receive the benefit too. Yeah.
There's no question, and I'm sure there's a lot of nodding going on. There was a fella unpacking a van. He was parked just sort of along the walk to the studio, and I'm like, good morning. And he said, good morning. And then I don't know why, but I just turned back, but he had this weird look on his face, like, do I know that person, and maybe he was scratching his head a little bit. But everything from a smile at a stranger through to doing something that requires significant resources. And we've all got different resources available to us. And day to day, our resources will absolutely do vary. I think the message is know your resources, giving within your resources. We know that, and it's not all about giving, that the happiness skills are many and varied. Do what we can do with what we've got is probably a good way to sum it up. Declan, I'm going to ask you, please, the high achiever trap and letting go of control. I suppose we did touch on that in our last episode, didn't we? We talked about achievement and this hedonic treadmill. The letting go when it comes to achievement, which is, and I guess it also comes back to what we were praised for as kids as well. There's so many influences on the way that we operate and we think and the way we get fulfillment. Have you got something that you could share with us around that letting go? We touched on it last week about acceptance. Is there something that you'd like to add? Because I feel as though, one of the things that can detract from our happiness is this kind of moving the goalposts and, tick that box, what's next kind of thing, which a lot of listeners will relate to.
And what I'll share on this is when I look back on some of my greatest heartaches, hurts, frustrations, challenges and struggles, more often than not, a common thread is that I've tried to control something that's inherently uncontrollable.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Be it I've tried to control how life was playing out, I've tried to control the traffic, and I've been frustrated at this traffic. I've tried to control the weather at times. I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek about those because they're very human and very common. But even something like when I say to someone, what are your goals? A lot of business leaders come to the college to learn humanistic leadership from us. And it's so often that they'll say, my goal is to increase our client numbers by X amount. And I go, well, that's actually inherently not in your control. Like, you can't force people to become a client of yours. Mm. So you're now setting yourself up to pursue a goal that you are not actually in the driver's seat of, which is a huge gamble with your happiness.
Yeah.
Let's reverse engineer that a little bit. That is the desired outcome. I don't think it's wrong to have a goal or an intention around that. Mm. I think the danger is if we tie our sense of self-worth, tie our sense of happiness, tie our sense of accomplishment to something that's inherently not ours to control. Let's say the intention is to grow our client numbers. What is in your control and in your zone of influence that makes that more likely? And all of a sudden they say things like, well, actually, like the decisions that I make, or am I showing up as the best version of myself? Am I looking after myself and thinking clearly? Am I helping create a culture at work where my team feels their best? Do we have the systems and structures written up and built for effective sales conversations? Like, these are all things that they can take ownership and control over. Mm. And so I've started to now embrace this sense that like life is not about me trying to control life and force it to conform to my goals and my intentions. My game with life now is how do I increase the surface area for luck to strike? I'm incredibly fortunate that I've experienced many great things in life, and I hope to continue to experience many more great things. And pretty well all of them have a fair degree of luck.
Yeah.
They have a fair degree of life played along for a bit. Mm. That's not to diminish the fact that I also did a lot of work to make it more likely that luck would strike.
Yeah.
Being invited and asked to do a TED Talk. It's something that I'd applied for many years and not heard back from, then I got invited. But I got invited because I'd done work for many years around building my knowledge and credibility, around speaking, around building my profile and platform. Like, I did things to then increase the likelihood of that happening, but I could not make that happen.
Yes. Yes.
And the more I learned to let go of control and let go of trying to force life to follow my plans, the better I find life is. Mm. And resources that have helped me with that, acceptance and commitment therapy and everything by Dr. Russ Harris. I'm a raving fan of his work. I encourage you to check out his books. Anything in that space is fantastic, as well as the book The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer.
Right.
Those would be the resources that help me most with this idea of just letting go of control and not trying to be so rigid about my ideas of life, because often that rigidity is what led to a lot of frustration and hurt and stress and heartache.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And you obviously walk the talk. You share openly about your own challenges, and we can sometimes find our way to the things that give us great joy and bring us a sense of achievement, accomplishment, or fulfill hopes and dreams. We might just not get there in the way that we expected, or we might get things that are a bit different but are still pretty amazing. And so what is one strategy that you wish someone had given you on your hardest day?
Permission to fall apart.
Mm.
What I mean by that is I've found, particularly the more I've become known, I guess, as that happiness guy.
Mm.
A common byproduct of that is people go, that happiness guy, you must be happy all the time. You must really have nailed happiness.
Pressure.
I hope I've shared very openly today with the listeners. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm a human being first, and I'm that happiness guy second.
Yeah.
Right? Which means I still have all the human challenges and experiences and struggles, and I'm still a human being doing life for the first time. Right?
Yes.
And then figuring it out as I go. And so I think my hardest day and my hardest moments and experiences, a big part of me still felt I had to keep it all together.
Yeah.
And that I had to show up as, the really emotionally intelligent guy who's really connected to himself, who's doing it all well. And I didn't give myself permission. I didn't really receive permission to go, hey, you can just crumble right now for a bit.
Yeah.
You can fall apart. You can be an absolute mess right now for a while.
Mm.
And I think had I had that permission, had I allowed myself to go there, I would have moved through that difficulty and that heartache and that challenge maybe a bit healthier. I don't know if sooner, but definitely more healthier than I did.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer of the saying, what we feel, we can heal.
Mm.
And at the time, I was not feeling how I was feeling because I was so focused on maintaining this image and this facade of having it all together.
Yeah.
And so I think the thing that I wish I had on my hardest days is just the permission to go, fall apart,
Yeah.
crumble,
Yep.
let it go.
Yeah. Thank you. Declan, thank you so much. Declan Edwards, you are an incredible human and you have shared with us so much in these 2 episodes of the podcast how we can make change to improve our happiness, but also to be more accepting of the very human challenges that we all face. And you've really normalised that. And I'm very grateful to you for sharing some of your time with us. How can people connect with you and your work?
Any social media platform, if you search Declan Edwards or BU Happiness College or That Happiness Guy, I tend to pop up. I've been told by my 14-year-old brother that I'm now cool because I'm on TikTok, which is a new one for me this year. But any of the socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that. Of course, head to our website, BU Happiness College. You can find out all about what a happiness college is and what it looks like to learn those skills of happiness. And then recently, as of 2025, I'm back on the airwaves myself. So we have a podcast called How to Be Happy, where we share the skills and science of happiness, not only from that individual lens, but also how to create happy and thriving organizations and workplaces. So if you are a podcast person, which I'm guessing you are because you're listening to a podcast right now,
yes,
definitely search How to Be Happy on Spotify or any of the podcasting platforms.
Amazing. And keep your eye out for Declan's book. That's very exciting. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this time with me on Well, Hello Anxiety. Remember, understanding anxiety is the first step to managing it. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Take things one moment at a time. Focus on what you can control and know that you are not alone on this journey. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone who might need to hear it too. I'm Dr. Jodie Richardson, and I'll meet you right back here next week.